Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. Hey guys, welcome back to the Rock Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Eaton, soul therapist and author of the book, Rock Your Soul, The Down-to-Earth Guide to Mastering Your Mind. I'm so excited to be back. If you've been following me on social media, I'm on a little bit of a social media hiatus right now. I will probably be off until maybe July. I haven't really decided. It's doing really great things for my creativity and my soul, so I'm probably going to stick with that. If you caught my live video in my group, which you can find facebook.com/groups/rockyoursoulclarity, I was in a little bit of a pickle this past weekend. So I went to Charleston with a group of girlfriends for my friend Stephanie's birthday. And we were eating dinner on our last night there. We were having a great time. We're at this Tex-Mex place called El Jefe's right on King Street. Super delicious food if you ever get a chance to go there. And we have somebody approach our table and say, hey, you can't leave right now. We're locking the doors because there's tear gas being deployed out front. Now, what we realize is that we're in the middle of not necessarily even just a protest, but a riot. And I look outside, I see police lights, and I see people just bolting, just running down. Like, it's apocalyptic looking. It looks scary as hell. And we're just sitting there like, okay, well, we have to walk back across the street to get to our Airbnb through the chaos. So we're not sure what to do. We're just kind of watching everything. And all of a sudden, there's this group of people who just pull up out front of this restaurant and they're trying to get in, but the doors are locked because of the tear gas. And then all of a sudden, they just pull up bats and bricks and start busting the windows in and assaulting the manager. And I'm not entirely sure, but it sounded like gunshots. I don't know if they came from inside out or outside in. So we are bolting. The entire restaurant is just bolting out the back into the alleyway, and we're running. And I've never been so terrified in my entire life because we don't have any way to get back to our Airbnb. We do not have a car because we walked over. And it was just, we ended up jumping in the car with a perfect stranger. If you're a child, don't listen to this. But, and he ended up being fantastic and took us to a whole different side of Charleston, and we ended up getting a hotel. So if you're wondering if being caught in a riot is fun, it's not. It was traumatizing, and there was a lot of people that I watched personally get hurt, and it was awful. So now we go online and there's all of these opinions about things. And I know for me personally, when I have something scary or traumatic or something I'm just really deeply trying to process, my instinct is to get very quiet. And I had several people kind of make comments, and it wasn't just one post or one thing, but lots of people making comments about, if you're silent right now, you're the problem. If you're silent right now, I'm really disappointed in you. And I'm thinking, guys, I'm just trying not to cry every day. And I'm not even sure where my head's at. And I have so much anxiety in my body that I want to throw up, and I'm not eating, and I'm trying to process things. And now I feel like I have to defend myself and what kind of person I am because I'm in that space. So I want to talk today about judgment, because what has happened, especially on social media, is that people have gotten into this space of saying this opinion is correct. I'm going to say that one more time. We've gotten into the space saying this opinion is the only opinion, and your response or your reaction is wrong if it's not this particular way. And the reality is that people process things and heal from things and manage things and deal with the traumas and crises of the universe entirely and totally different. And sometimes they're not the best responses, and sometimes they're not cute and they're not favorable, but it doesn't mean that they're immediately wrong. I think understanding that, if we were all standing in a traumatic situation, let's flash back to 9/11. Some people felt so grateful that they made it out and were alive and really went on to make the best of the situation and write books and share, public speaking. And some people committed suicide because they couldn't handle dealing with that situation. And so as much as it's really, really nice thought to have everybody handling this well and advocating and properly and peacefully protesting, that may not be the right response at the right time based on that person's history, based on any current events that could have triggered them, based on something deep within them of old biases. There may be a lot of different pieces to the puzzle, and I think making judgmental, sweeping statements creates division. Let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So judgment is the ultimate divider. It's the having or displaying of a very critical viewpoint or excessively critical viewpoint. And judgments are often a reflection of our own security within ourselves. A lot of people don't like to hear that because then they feel like, well, I'm not insecure and my opinion's right. And a lot of times we create judgments about other people to make ourselves feel superior. It's a natural psychological process. And if you're kind of sitting over there saying, oh, well, I don't judge people, what I'll say to you is you at least initially do, because that's how our brain works. You at least have some area of your life where you are judging somebody else, because one of our brain's protective mechanisms is to, again, gain control when we start to feel like a failure by saying, well, my business didn't work out because, I didn't have the startup money, and this person over there, they're only successful because their daddy has a lot of money, or, just little things like that throughout your day. Or even, we were at the store the other day, and there was a woman. My daughter was like, oh my gosh, do you see this person over here? And this woman was dressed in a very peculiar fashion. It was very different from how we typically dress. And I'm, thinking, okay, well, we can use this as a teaching moment, or I can also be judgmental and be like, WTF, what is going on there? So when we learn to at least monitor how we're judging things, or our automatic judgments, or our first initial response to anything that is different than what we're thinking, feeling, believing, or behaving, that's really what a judgment is. It's a response to what we feel should be the right thing. And our idea of what's right is only based off our perception, which is only based off thoughts that we've repeated from childhood about what's acceptable and who's acceptable and what's okay and what's not okay. So the cool thing is that we can take our perceptions and we can unlearn them. And we can take our perceptions and we can get into a space where we're accepting more. Because the minute we start creating this judgmental conflict between us and other people is where we start dividing. And if we want this world to heal, friends, we got to get on some level of same page. We have to get into a space where we're loving each other fiercely, no matter the background, no matter how they show up, even if they show up like a total asshole, even if they show up in a scary way. Like, we just need to love each other. And that comes with acceptance. And you don't have to always know what's going on for a person, or you don't always have to know and understand to accept. And you don't always have to experience it to accept. So I want to talk a couple ways of how do we stop being so damn judgmental. So first off, if you don't know who Brené Brown is, please crawl out from whatever rock you've been living under, because she is probably my all-time favorite writer. She studies vulnerability and puts out all of this beautiful research on vulnerability and understanding how vulnerability is required for happiness and authenticity and acceptance and love, and all of the beautiful ways that this empowers people and connects people. So she has this quote that I absolutely love, and it says, "People are hard to hate up close. Move in." So I'm going to start with that piece. Number one, How are we going to stop being judgmental? Listen to understand, not to respond. Our judgmental nature acts as a defense mechanism, and it rejects. That is what judgment does. It's a variation of rejection. So when we see something or experience something that we don't know what to do with, or we have a strong opinion about, our initial response is to override it with our original biased thoughts about it. So when if you're fighting with somebody and you don't want to hear what they have to say, you'll often develop what you're saying in your head before they finish talking. And you probably missed half of what they were saying because you weren't listening to understand, you were listening to respond. So your job is to start just working to understand. That's it. You don't have to voice your opinion to have one. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. You don't have to even agree, but you can listen to understand and accept and welcome that information. 2, become mindful and give people the benefit of the doubt. Somebody once used this example, and I have never felt like more of an asshole. I'm not an aggressive driver, but I used to be. Confession. And so obviously if you've got somebody, and this is a big pet peeve of mine, I'm working on it. When you're in construction and the lanes merge, I merge first. And then there's those people, and we all know who they are. And if you're one of those people, I'm sorry for having an opinion about you. But there's the people who drive down until it gets to the very end, and then they cut people off. And so one day I got into grad school into one of my classes, and I was complaining politely about this situation on the way there. And my professor looked at me and says, I had to do that the other day because I was rushing to the hospital. My mom had just had a heart attack and nobody was there with her. And I've never felt like more of a jerk. And then in that moment, because I realized that I don't know the reason that people are doing things always. I can only just assume, I was assuming the worst. I was assuming they were doing it just because they were trying to cut everybody off or they wanted to get ahead. But the reality is maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe something really traumatic happened. Maybe they're going through a breakup. Maybe they just lost the love of their life. Maybe their children are sick and they've been up all night and they're just trying to get some damn Pedialyte and get back home. When we start giving people the benefit of the doubt that they're doing things because of a reason, or they're acting in certain ways because something's going on for them, and that if we give people the benefit of the doubt that they're doing the best they can, it changes how we treat them with compassion, because judgment is a lack of compassion. It's saying, I don't get what you're doing, but it's wrong. And if we meet people with compassion and we can say, okay, I don't necessarily understand what you're doing, but I love you anyway. I don't understand this situation per se, but I know I love you, and I know I care about you, and I know I want to show up for you. And I'm going to love you anyway. Tell me how I can help. Show me how I can learn more about this. So our job is to really take mindfulness of where we're judging. What is it triggering in you? What response are you having? Where is it throwing you back to? Because a lot of times we get triggered based on experiences we had when we were kids. Maybe somebody who looked, when I was in doing traditional counseling in a counseling agency, I had this little girl, and when I ended my internship, I passed her off to one of my coworkers because I was no longer interning there. And she was so upset, not just because she was losing me as a therapist, but also because she did not want to speak to the person I picked out. Now, I picked out the best person in the building, so I was very confused by this, but we sat down and talked, and she goes, she looks like the girls who bullied me. And it was not anything that my coworker had done, but it was a trigger of an experience that was negative in the past. So again, we don't know, and we have to assume at all times we don't know. If you can stop thinking you know everything and just for a damn second consider you don't know, you become a chronic learner. Okay, so the third idea of how are we going to stop being judgmental? Redirect curiosity and self-awareness. Get curious about why you're having a response. A lot of times we have strong judgmental responses and we don't even ask where they're from or why we're having them. So, who am I declaring this for? Why is my opinion so strong? How do I hope others will perceive me if I say or do these things? Because a lot of times we like to just align with what we're around the most and not express our true, genuine feelings. Am I more judgy when I'm feeling vulnerable? Do I find myself being more judgmental when I'm stressed out? Is it because I feel like I'm failing, so I'm kind of judging everybody who's successful, or whatever the case might be? So we can kind of learn more about ourselves and when we're prone to be more judgmental just by simply saying, okay, well, where am I at, and why is this going on for me? How would I rather approach this situation? How can I approach it with love? How can I approach it with acceptance? How can I open my mind? How can I read more? I think right now, my personal tactic with just the universe in general and the world in general, I just want to learn more. I want to understand. I want to read more. I've ordered a ton of books and I'm so excited to dive in because there's areas that I just personally don't know about and I want to. So talk with people. The fourth thing is don't engage in gossip. If people are saying not nice things, don't be a part of it. It's very simple. And don't deem responses as right or wrong. Create openness for people to come to their own conclusions. So you can practice this even in situations where your friends are asking for advice. Like, what do you think I should do? You can toss that back. Well, what do you think you should do? Because a lot of times we say, well, you shouldn't do this because that's wrong. It might be wrong for us, but it doesn't mean it's wrong for them. So practice makes perfect. And we're going to not deem responses right or wrong. We're just going to create openness. We're going to create open-ended questions for people to come to their own conclusions, and we're going to love them in whatever way they come to their own conclusions. Number 5, surround yourself with new places, people, ideas, and perspectives. This helps move out old biases. This helps give new perspective. One of my favorite things is to travel. I love traveling specifically internationally, or to countries that are just function very differently, because it's a nice reminder that the way we do things is not the only way. And I think that's important to overriding judgment, because it's almost like you learn to understand that, wow, that way that they do things is completely different and totally works for them. That is totally something that's beautiful about their culture. And so when you can start to just experience all of these different angles of people and culture and get into a space where you're excited to know more instead of afraid to know more. And it also helps just move around our biases. When we start to just experience different things, it creates different internal narratives, which we can then find examples for. So if we think of perception as a thought that you keep thinking that you're finding evidence for, when we start to create new narratives because we're surrounding ourselves with different people and places, ideas and things and perspectives, then we also get to create a new internal narrative. Forgive and reset. Again, it's normal to have a judgment pop up. You don't need to beat yourself up over it if you're being judgmental. If you've done it for a while, all we need to do is forgive ourselves and maybe forgive others if they're being judgmental towards us, and hold compassion. Maybe they've had a really bad day. Maybe they're really working on their own self-acceptance. Maybe, that person that cut you off while they were driving, maybe they have a loved one in the hospital. Maybe they're just trying to get there. Hold compassion. Meet people with love. Last but not least, if somebody is being judgmental towards you, this is my favorite clap back. Okay, are you ready for this? Get a pen and paper. If somebody's being judgmental towards you and you feel like a little attacked by it, instead of getting defensive or defending yourselves, all you have to do is saying, well, that didn't make me feel very good. Was that your intention, to make me feel bad? Here's the thing. More often than not, and not everybody will respond positively to that, but more often than not, it gives people a chance to say, well, no, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. People, and I will always believe this, nobody will take this away from me. No matter what happens in the world, I will still believe that people are inherently good. And they inherently want to do good, and they inherently love other people. And most people who are being hurtful are so used to being judgmental or so used to responding in a certain way that they don't even realize they're doing it, or they don't even realize it's negatively impacting other people. They just see their right opinion, or their opinion they believe is right, and they want to share it with you so that you can also be right. So when we say something like, that really hurt my feelings, is that what your intention was? It gives them a chance to self-reflect. All we're looking for here with moving judgment out of the way is a healthy dose of self-reflection. Find your compassion, find your love, find your acceptance of other people. Ask more questions, learn more, understand more. Be really, really careful of those sweeping judgments of, if you're not doing this, that means you're that. It doesn't work like that. The world is not divided in that way. There is a ton of gray space that we're not properly utilizing. So it's so important for you to get your heart open, get your mind open, and then greet people from that space. Although I'm not active on social media right now, you can find me on NicoleEaton.com. I will be posting a lot more stuff because I have a lot more time on my hands to be creative. I'm still booking sessions. You can book one on NicoleEaton.com. You can also email me and we can have a conversation at NicoleEaton.clarity@gmail.com. And I love you guys. Please stay safe. Please stay, open mind and heart forward. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one personalized soul therapy session with me or catch a live event by visiting www.NicoleEaton.com or follow me on Instagram at NicoleEaton.xo. Thank you.